Now today we'll be showing how to test and replace an immobilizer. Now typically if you cannot start your vehicle, it may be the immobilizer, but also a very good sign is if you take a look on the dashboard, you have an icon. In my case it looks like an ignition key. That icon should go off within 2 seconds. In your case, if the icon is blinking or the light is on solidly, it just does not turn off, then you have a problem with the immobilizer unit. Now they typically live in the steering column, so we'll remove this plastic cover and we'll get clear access to it, and I'll go through a number of different steps on how you can test the immobilizer. So if you take a look on the bottom of the steering column, we have a couple of fasteners, one here, I have another one toward the rear. Just look for these fasteners on your vehicle. In my case I have 3, they're Phillips size fasteners, and then we can remove the plastic housing from the column. Now in my case I also have this lower dash cover that I need to remove out of the way in order to remove this plastic trim piece. So 2 ways you can really do it. Number one, if I feel for it, these are just held in by clips and I can pull back and at least start it, and there you go. Now on the flip side, so if we come over to the other side, you'll see it's a little harder to really get your fingers in here. So I have a trim removal set. These typically run for around $12 on Amazon. I'll have a link in the description box below if you do need one of these to our affiliate site. But you just grab one of the tools. Let's see if I can do this without putting down the camera. I'd like to get up here if I can. Hold on. Okay, so here we go. Sometimes I like to do this. Sort of peel it back. Really tight fit, as you can see. It's amazing how they build these cars. There you go. And then we'll just look for any electrical connections, something like this. There's a tab. As you can see, pressing the tab. There you go. Another one down here. So just go throughout your dash and you'll be able to then pull this back. So I have one last connection here. Another one down here. And there you go. So I have those 3 Phillips size fasteners removed. And these can be a little hard sometimes to disengage from one another. So just take your time. This goes here. There's the top piece. And then let's flip over here and take a look. So right here is the immobilizer unit. Now in my case I want to do a couple of tests. In other words, maybe a fuse is bad. Maybe there's a problem with the wiring, so let's just check everything. So right back here, the harness connector going into the immobilizer unit. There's a tab at the 12 o'clock position. Just press down on the tab. And let's do a couple of things to verify everything is okay. Now to test the system is quite simple. We really just need 3 things. Number one is a digital multimeter. If you've never used one of these, very, very simple to use. These typically run for around $20. This one is off Amazon. Your local auto parts store, Home Depot, Lowe's, home centers, they all have them. Number 2 is just 2 wires which have alligator clips on the ends. Again, I got these off Amazon. And then just a paper clip, a thin paper clip. And let's see what's going on here with the system. Again, do not be intimidated by this. I'll show you how simple it is to use one of these. Now this first test is to verify that we do not have a problem with the indicator light. In other words, maybe on your vehicle the light is not coming on. This will pinpoint if the bulb is out inside the dash or if we have a blown fuse. So coming over to the harness connector, as you can see we have a number of different openings. In my case I'm going to insert it here, and I'll show you how you can just do this through trial and error. In my case I just know it's the 5th one from the left. Then I'm grabbing a alligator clip. One end goes here, and then you need a good ground. So right here I have a metal structure. You want to find a good ground. This is a metal bracket. Now watch when I touch. Okay, so again this is just connected right to this. The key is not in the ignition, but take a look, the light turns on. So that verifies that the fuse is good and also we don't have a blown bulb. But let's say you're not sure which terminal to touch. If I just disconnect this and touch the first terminal, okay, nothing happens. Again, second terminal, nothing happens. So you just can do this very simply on your vehicle, and once you hit this one, a little hard to get everything on one screenshot, but as you can see, this is the correct one. Now let's say in your case, this light is not turning on. Let's check the fuse. Okay, now generally you'll find two fuse locations on a modern vehicle. The first one is under the dash, the other one is underneath the hood. I'll show you both of them. Now, if you have a Subaru, for example, you'll find one set of fuses right here. Just pull down a little compartment and you'll find a number of them. Other times, in this case, being a Honda or an Acura, this is where they list. As you can see, I'm doing some other videos, so I have this plastic cover already removed, but on your vehicle, you just pull back the cover and rotate, and you'll find every single fuse at this location. So in our case, in order for that light to work, we need number 7. It's a 7.5 amp. Now to check that, in my case, again, it's from the bottom left, count 7 over. So 1, 2, even if there's an empty fuse location, count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I would pull this fuse right here, and there's actually a puller. Let me show you where they locate the pullers for these. Now this is the other location. This is the under hood fuse box. So we just pull this back. And you could tell this is the fuse location just by process of elimination. This is the air box, the engine obviously, and you could quickly figure out what's going on here. Again, if you rotate it, you'll see all of the fuses, but we need the puller. So now we're going to pull that fuse. So again, 7 over from the left, insert your little tool, pull back. Okay, now this fuse, if you're not sure how to read a fuse, you see how right smack in the middle, it's there really are no breaks. If you see a break in the fuse, then the fuse is not good. So for example, if we do the same test again, that light will not turn on. So just to quickly show you, again, I have the paper clip inserted, alligator clip right to ground, and the light does not turn on. So this is what you want to check if that light is not turning on. Now in your case, if you check the fuse and it's good, and you still do not see a light, then the bulb inside the dash needs to be replaced. So now we verified that the light for the Immobilizer unit is in working order and we don't have a blown fuse. But the next test is to verify that power is getting to the unit itself. In other words, if you have a blown fuse, then power can't get from essentially this harness connector to power up the Immobilizer unit. That's just an easy way to think of it. So what I have again is the multimeter. And what you want to set it to is volts DC, okay? So volts DC, that's a millivolt reading, don't worry about that. Very, very sensitive multimeter. Now, you have 2 leads on the multimeter. You have a black lead and a red lead. The black lead goes to ground. So again, I'm using these alligator clips. You don't have to use them. Just makes the job a lot easier because it frees up your hands. So black lead goes to ground. If you remember, I have a metal structure right here. Any good solid metal point is a good ground. Okay, let's put this here. All right. So again, black goes to ground. Again, that's a millivolt reading. Don't worry about that. You want a solid volt reading, not millivolts. And then the red lead coming from the multimeter. I have the other alligator, and I'm going to insert it into, in my case, the last one to the right, and we should have 12 volts of power, and we do. So if I disconnect it, nothing. Once I connect it, 12 volts. Now again, you can do process of elimination on your vehicle. So if I remove the paper clip from this guy and go to the next one over, nothing. Go over to the next one, do the same thing. Go over to the next one, do the same thing until you find 12 volts. Again, that's a millivolt reading. Don't pay attention to that. You want 12 volts of power. Now, if you're not getting power, hold on. There you go. Now, if you're not getting power to the harness connector, 2 fuses. The first fuse is check the one that I just showed you. In my case, it's listed as backup. You want to check all of the fuses, make sure that one is in good shape. The other fuse is, there's one, in my case, underneath the hood. Let me show you that one. Now again, you want to find the fuse box. Typically, they're very, very easy to find by process of elimination. This is the battery under here, of course, the engine, windshield washer fluid. Just go through the engine compartment and you'll see something very similar to this. You have plastic tabs. This comes off. Rotate it. Let's see if I can pick this up. I may have to turn off the light here. Hold on. Now take a look at number 15. And as you can see, it says the same fuse backup as we saw in the front, except instead of this being 7.5 amps, this is 40 amps. And that's located right here. So take a look at the fuse. If it's blown, then that's your problem. Now, if you're not sure what you're looking at, when you see these numbers, these are fuses. These are relays. And the way you can tell, if you take a look at this cover, that diagram, that diagram, that diagram, same on the bottom. These are all relays. Okay, so when you see when you see A, essentially, if this is new to you, 15 amp, 40 amp, 30 amp, so on and so forth, these are fuses. Okay, all these are fuses. These are relays. So we verified that we're getting power. There's one more test regarding the wiring to make sure we have no breaks in the wiring. Now for this last test, we're doing something called continuity. That just means 2 points make a connection. Now take a look at all of the symbols on the multimeter. You want the one that looks like a Wi-Fi hotspot. Okay, so make sure that symbol's on your multimeter. And all that this means, again, 2 points make a connection. So I have a black and a red lead on the multimeter. If I just touch these two leads, I have continuity. You hear an audible alert. So your black goes to ground as usual. So again, I'm just grabbing my alligator clip, touching body ground. And then you probably already figured out that the red lead is touching the harness connector. Now again, process of elimination. Go through each opening until you hear continuity. We should hear, oh, hold on. My alligator clip came off. There we go. Alright, let's do that again. Alrighty, here we go. Again, test all of the openings, and then eventually, which you'll hear in a moment, there you go. Oh, there you go. I might have blocked your view there, but this is all that I'm doing. Checking each one, and there we go. So we have continuity. Now, if you do all of these tests, you have continuity, power's getting to the harness connector, then you have to replace the immobilizer unit. Unfortunately, they do have to be programmed for the most part, typically around 2003 and afterwards. For the most part, the dealership has to program these. However, you can still save a bundle just by removing the plastic covers. Don't forget, they'll nail you for labor. Take off the plastic covers, remove the immobilizer, reinstall it, and then they can program it. There are some guys I know that will even come to your house, do mobile calls, especially now during the coronavirus. They'll come to you and do this. So let me show you how you can just simply remove this, install a new one, and they'll have to reprogram it for you. Now the unit is held in by two fasteners. I have one fastener right there, and there's another one right back right there. Okay, so right there again, right here. Remove it and this whole piece comes right out. Whew, my hands are cold. Okay, and then this comes right out. That's it. There's your immobilizer unit. So I hope this gives you a pretty good idea on what it takes to test and replace an immobilizer unit. Now in your case, if you do need one, again, save yourself the labor. Remove the plastic paneling. You can even remove and replace and install a brand new one. Maybe you're lucky enough, there are some locksmiths, I understand, that can even program some of these if they're not too sophisticated. So do some research. At the very least, save yourself an hour worth of labor by removing the plastic pieces and save some cash in that sense. So I hope, again, this gives you a good idea. Thank you for watching. Stay well, and we'll see you next time.